Happy Friday. Here we are again, and I am keeping track. It is sunny again today. I've been keeping track of how many Fridays are sunny, and we have another one. So anyway, I am really excited because we're going to talk about something near and dear to my heart. I want to welcome Dr. Ilene Berns-Zare. Her business is IBZ Coaching, and we are going to talk about flourishing in the second half of our lives. So welcome, Ilene.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
So among a million other things that you do, I know you speak, you're working on a book, you're a coach, you're a speaker, an author, everything. Let's talk about how do we handle this second part of our lives?
That's a great question. It's one that if we're here and we are, at midlife or beyond, we're probably either beginning to grapple with or have been grappling with for a long time. And of course, there's not one answer to this. But, what we do know is that here in 2021, in general, people are living longer. People are generally healthier. We know a lot of the strategies that help us to flourish, to live our best lives in ways that people didn't know, that our parents didn't know and our grandparents didn't know. And so thinking about that, making choices and learning about strategies that we can use in order to be able to live our lives with greater meaning, greater engagement, greater positive emotions is something that is accessible really to everyone, no matter where we are, no matter what our challenges and blessings are.
So how would we, if I said, I want to flourish in the second, would we make a list of what we love, or how would we even start that conversation?
Well, that's a great question. And again, there are many, many options. We are all different, and there are many, many options. But we know that there are some basic components to flourishing, to thriving, to living our best lives. And for each of us, they may look different, but the components are the same. The first one, and the acronym for that is PERMA. Okay. First one is P, positive emotions. So how can we build positive emotions in our lives? Optimism, hope, love, joy, engagement, etc. How can we bring more of that into our lives?
Okay.
The second one is engagement. What do you really love to do? And how can you get more of it? What are the things that when you do them, you really kind of get lost in them? So for some of us, we're fortunate that might be our work and what we're doing in our day-to-day lives. For some of it's not. So how can we just figure out what that is and maybe even just build opportunities for even moments of that in our lives?
Okay.
The R is relationships, and relationships, supportive relationships of all kinds are just a huge and extremely well-documented component of a good life, of flourishing. The relationships can be close, they may not be close. We may rely on others may rely on us. And what researcher Barbara Fredrickson found is that even micro moments of connection can make a real positive difference. So even that smile in the grocery store, for example.
That is so. And have they done studies? It may be too soon, but does it have to be person to person, or can it be virtual? Or do you know?
I haven't seen studies on that. I suspect that it's the connection that really matters. And if we were to do a survey of many of us who have been interacting virtually over this past year and a half, I suspect that many of us, while we might like to have in-person conversations, have gotten quite a bit of satisfaction and joy and connection and meeting from our virtual connections.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my gut guess too, that I feel the difference of one-on-one or in person. I was in the office yesterday and I couldn't get out. I couldn't leave. I was like, what is this about? Get out. But I think it was being able to be with people after so long. So yeah, those are all great ideas, and maybe people should, rattle that around in their heads a little bit. And that's the kind of thing you could help somebody work on, going into more depth about what really brings them joy. Some people don't know.
Sure, that's right. Yeah, and coaching, which is one of the things that I do and many others do, is a great place to start to learn more about ourselves, figure out what our goals are, and take steps to get there. I also have a regular blog for Psychology Today where I write about a lot of these issues. It happens to be called Flourish and Thrive, and dealing with transitions.
That's great. And transitions, you just mentioned transitions.
Yeah.
I think that brings on, as a realtor, I see it all the time. My clients are in a really elevated place of stress. And maybe there's some tips there for thinking, I like to tell them, your life isn't over. You're just moving to, and I'm not the therapist, but you're just moving to the next phase.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good advice. And one of the ways that I tend to think of it is really, in a sense, we are always in transition in one thing or another. And William Bridges writes about transitions in terms of thinking about it as three phases. There's an ending to something. And the more we love that something, the more challenging that is. Then there's a middle wilderness phase where we're sort of wandering and trying to figure out what we want to do. And then there is the new beginning. The new start, and certainly the folks that you work with in moving are going through those stages, and they're very easily identifiable. And in the second half of life, we're also in that wilderness in many phases. And one of the other aspects that of that PERMA that I didn't get to mention that I'd like to share for a moment, if I may, which is meaning, which is huge, which is finding meaning, figuring out what really is meaningful to you, what feels like what gives you a sense of purpose, and including that in our lives. And again, it doesn't have to be some big thing. It can be just the small day-to-day things even that are meaningful, and building that into life.
Okay. Do you have an example of, of something somebody discovered that brought meaning into their lives? Or, I don't know. I think that so many novels that I read, that's the gist, or I think of Viktor Frankl. I didn't know if you wanted to elaborate on that a little bit.
Sure, I would be happy to. And Viktor Frankl, by the way, is one of my heroes.
Yeah.
Because he really taught us about choices, and that we, even in the most difficult of circumstances, we always have a choice. So the more conscious we are about that, and finding meaning really fits in with that so beautifully. So for each of us, the questions we can ask ourselves are, what do I really enjoy? What gives me a sense of purpose? What have I always wanted to do or accomplish that I haven't gotten yet? And for some people, especially, at midlife and beyond, it could be something like, well, I've always wanted to paint, or I love to learn. I want to go back to school. Relationships really matter to me. I want to spend more time with my loved ones, my friends. Social action. I want to get involved in something. I want to make a difference. I want to help people. I want to write a book. I want to spend more time outside.
Yeah.
So there are just so many ways.
And, I'm sitting here thinking, maybe some people in the first part of their lives didn't do as much of those things because there was a fear factor. So maybe you help people get past that fear, or that letting them know it's okay to spend time outside. We live in such a world of, you've got to make money 24 hours a day. I'm thinking that people maybe need I'm asking, people need the permission to enjoy the second parts of their lives.
And who do we get that permission from? Ourselves. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. It's so common. And so one of the things I often share with people is suggest, can you let it be okay to begin where you are today? Every moment is a new beginning, and that's very much based in mindfulness, which is a hot topic these days, and one that it can make such a big difference in our lives. And I'm not talking about meditating for an hour, just talking about letting ourselves, be in this moment, notice this moment, pay attention to our inner voice in this moment, and then listen to it. Listen to ourselves and be kind to ourselves. Many of us have a great deal of kindness for other people, but we're not sharing that kindness for ourselves. So one of the things about not only the work that I do, but positive psychology, which has really informed so many understandings and strategies for how to engage with our lives in the first half of life as well as in the second half of life, is that there are strategies that we can use, many of which have been researched, that can help us, engage more positively with ourselves and, with all of the facets of our lives. One of them, may I mention one?
Yes. I'd love to hear the strategies. I didn't know if you were willing to share, but I would love to hear them.
These are not my strategies. These are there for everyone.
Yes,
gratitude is a really big one, right? Noticing, paying attention to what we're thankful for. Moments of gratitude can really improve life satisfaction and bring happiness into our lives. And again, it doesn't have to be a big fancy thing. Maybe pausing in the morning and the evening and thinking about maybe one thing or three things that I feel grateful for. If you want to get a bigger bang for the buck, maybe write those down and why you're grateful for them.
And they can be things like the sunshine. I mean, I am so happy, and I bet a lot of people are really happy when we have beautiful weather like this. It's like, this makes me feel, and so it doesn't have to be like a big thing, as you say.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, Betsy. For people that are struggling with, let's say, chronic pain, it could be, I woke up this morning and my pain is only on a 3 instead of a 6, right? So and so is coming to see me today. Yeah, it can be. I want to read. I got to read a couple pages of this book that I love this evening. Right. It can be very, very simple. The key is pausing to notice and express thanks. May I share another very simple one?
Please. I love to keep going.
So savoring, another strategy. So it's a fancy word for pausing to notice right now, right? So you and I are having this conversation. It's really nice. I'm just savoring it. I'm gonna notice it. That first bite of spaghetti, that first bite of food, instead of just swallowing it down, going to the next one, letting it roll on the tongue for a moment and noticing how good it tastes.
I think that's a great word and a great strategy. I think people need to slow down and savor. And they tell you that about eating and wine drinking and everything. What a great one. Got another one?
Sure. Remembering to laugh and to smile. When we smile, even when we fake smile, it actually can change our biochemistry just a little bit, and we actually then can begin to feel better. I know that seems counterintuitive, but there's some truth on that, right?
That one's great too. I love this. Another one? I'm going to practice them all day.
Finding a chance to connect with someone. Again, for the frequencies are different, but perhaps every day connecting with maybe one person that's meaningful to you. And maybe it's just when you're at the grocery store, greeting the person, they're saying thank you to the person who's taking care of you there.
Right. So even for introverts, you're not trying to make people think they got to run outside every day and be the life of the party.
No.
They just have to do a little connecting with somebody in their universe.
That's absolutely right. And for everybody, there's not one way to do any of these things, but these are key components.
Is there another one?
I was going to say, even just creating a positivity list of maybe 10 things you enjoy doing. Again, they can be small things. And then maybe choosing one for today or choosing one this week that you're going to spend 15 minutes even on. Again, small steps. So remembering when we want to create change or when we want to shift, it doesn't have to be big steps. We don't have to get all the way there, right? But one step, one step, one step.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a saying, 1%. Because
Exactly.
if you change that 1%, eventually you're going to have a big change. And I'm going to share what makes me happy. I have something that makes me happy lately, and it's my coffee maker. I found the best coffee maker, and I have to tell you, I think about it when I want to be happy. Like if something's bothering me a little bit, I just think, I love my coffee maker. And it works, is the point.
Yeah.
It works. And it's not, it was like $140. So it's not some big fancy thing. It's just, it does what I want it to do. It works really well. It's easy to clean, and I'm madly in love with it. Yes, I'm
That's
easy.
wonderful. I'd like to see it sometime.
That's yeah. Anyway, it's but I think that those things, I think you're so right that those things really help. So let's just go over them. They were gratitude, connecting. Let's see if I can do this. Smiling.
Yeah. Savoring.
Savoring. Okay.
Yeah. And keep learning.
Yes.
Again, as people are getting older, that I know everything, or I can't learn anymore. We can always learn something.
Right.
We can always learn something new, even one small thing. Even a family member of mine who has dementia, who doesn't remember things, still she can in the moment have moments of joy and pleasure. She can in the moment learn or remember something or be reminded of something she knew. She might forget it, but she continues to have those joyful moments.
That's wonderful. That is terrific. This is such a good conversation. And I think one of the reasons that this is so important is what you said in the beginning. We are living longer, so we don't have a role model for this. Our grandparents got to be 60 something, and that was pretty much, they were, I mean, I don't think my grandparents didn't live past their early 70s. So, the baby boomers, we don't have a role model for this. It's sort of like they just were old. So this is new territory.
Yeah. And we don't have to buy into the stereotypes. It's important to notice what they are. And then we have choices about whether we're going to buy into them, and how are we going to think about our lives going forward. What do we want for ourselves? What do we want for our loved ones? And what are our choices?
That's great. That is wonderful. I mean, this has been a great conversation. Eileen, do you have any closing words or anything that you want to?
I want to thank you very much for having me here. I do coach with people who are interested in looking and navigating the second half of life as well as the first half of life, and look for a book, because I'm writing a book on this topic, and I'm excited with hope that it will be published soon.
That will be great. Well, then we'll have you back when we have the book, and then we can talk about the book. I'll read the book and we'll review the book, and we'll let everybody know just a little bit so they can join in. Well, this has been great. I'm gonna savor. I'm going to remember that word now. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.